Politics Watch. This is Sir P. Now that the smoke clear up a little bit, now that the groupies them gone back to them bed, right? Because just in case you haven't realized, Jamaica have a groupie culture. Right? You have the JLP led by Andrew Holness. He man theme to that group with them. We feel say nobody enough to ask or question nothing what him say or do. Mark Golding, leader of the PNP. He man theme set. We feel say nobody enough ask or question nothing what him say or do. And apparently, even Chief Richard Curry, even though by his own words, Maroons are a sovereign nation, they're not like the rest of Jamaica. Even him have him set of groupies who feel say him can just say and do anything and nobody never say nothing. The response when you challenge or even question anything them say is usually the usual LIQ nonsense. Oh yeah, fight against, yeah, try to stop, usual foolishness. Anyway, why am I doing this video now? Chief Richard Curry, in case you're not aware, and you should be living under a rock, is the current leader of the Maroons. Right? Chief, and by the way, let me just say this. I see people on the opposite side of the fence, right, to the group with them, just as extreme, downright dismissing Chief Richard Curry. Let me just say this to all Jamaicans who have sense, all rational Jamaicans. They like using, they can set this one out. Chief Richard Curry deserve respect. Any leader of the Maroons deserve respect. Whether or not you agree with him have to say. Right? I see people downright dismissing like a puppy show thing, and that is completely unnecessary. Right? As far as I'm concerned, you'd be in the same bracket as the groupies, just on a different side of the fence. Richard Curry and his people, right, have a right to say what they must say. However, right, people have a right for, let's just say, checks and balances on some of the things them or come out time mouth. The people of Jamaica need to understand this. Of all the problems Jamaica is currently facing, this issue with the Maroons, right, shouldn't even be nowhere near the top. Right. Jamaica have way too much problem for descend down this path, right, where it seems like there's going to be some kind of head-on collision with the Maroons. Right. It's simply unnecessary. Right. The whole heap of tough talking from both sides is a waste of time. Right. This is typical of black culture. Right. Everybody wicked and bad when time talk to another black man, but if for the Chinese man or the European say nothing, then all of a sudden people withdraw into victim mode. You see it in the right, nobody now talk tough again. So let cool heads prevail. Right. Maroons are not our arch nemesis where we need to dedicate the time and resource to launch all out verbal conflicts, and we certainly don't want anything physical. So let me put that out there. Because social media, they like use on both sides, them are careful, them just make things escalate, and they will not be involved in nothing. They might sit in them living room, right, and I watch them TV if all hell break loose. The Maroons are the least, right, of Jamaica's many problems. Nevertheless, right, I want to ask Chief Richard Curry a favor. I'm going to ask him that favor after we go through the treaty. Right? Because a lot of people don't actually, from time to time you hear the Maroons refer to their treaties, and the Treaty of 1738. We're going to go through the treaty, and I'm going to ask Chief Richard Curry, who is a man that is clearly PR savvy, right? He's internet savvy, he clearly knows how to get his point across on camera. He's clearly an educated man. I would say he's actually more PR savvy than most Jamaican politicians I can think of. You always hear me talking about PR. In this day and age, PR, right, can make or break you. Somebody with excellent PR, right, can outshine and win against somebody who has terrible PR, even if the person with terrible PR know more and can do more than them. Right? So anybody who understands PR, whether in a personal job or in a politics, right, anybody who understands and get PR, they will excel. But over here, so we look on the substance past the PR. So we could go through the treaty, and then Mr. Curry, I want to do right, the people of Jamaica a favor. I want to look at your screen right now. This is the Treaty of 1738. Now, unless you've been living under a rock, right, the Maroons and the British were constantly at it. The Maroons were giving the British pure problem. You heard me say it many times. No matter how big your army is, no matter how much weapons you think you're gonna have, when you're fighting somebody on their turf, somebody who knows the terrain better than you, somebody who is motivated and determined, right? Your big fancy army, suddenly I go start have a bag of problems. Whether it's the Russians in Afghanistan, whether it's Uncle Sam in Vietnam, it's the same formula over and over. A determined group of people, even if they're smaller and less equipped, they can use the terrain, right? They can use the jungle skills, right? Certain things where an outside force just won't know, right? And get an advantage, right, on the battlefield. The Maroons gave the British hell to the point where the British sat down and said, listen, I can work out something, right? So you're looking at the Treaty of 1738. And it says, and I quote, first, that all hostilities shall cease on both sides forever. That's interesting. Forever. So that shows that by this point, the British didn't want the war done. They even make sure put in forever. So that means that gone, when they reach 2050, this treaty, right, still supposed to stand. Secondly, that the said Captain Cudjoe, the rest of his captains, adherents, and men shall forever hereafter, in a perfect state of freedom and liberty, excepting those who have been taken by them or fled to them within 2 years last past. Right. Let me say it again. Excepting those who have been taken by them, in other words, right, the other blacks who the Maroons them take, or the other blacks them who run away, go live with the Maroon them, that perfect state of freedom and liberty didn't count for them. They were not included in this. If such are willing to return to their said masters and owners with full pardon and indemnity from their said masters or owners for what is past, provided always that if they are not willing to return, they shall return, or they shall remain in subjection to Captain Cudjoe and in friendship with us, according to the form and tenor of this treaty. Thirdly, that they shall enjoy and possess for themselves and posterity forever all the lands situate and lying between Trelawney Town and the Cockpits, to the amount of 1,500 acres, bearing northwest from the said Trelawney Town. Now that third one, right, when you hear the Maroons saying that lands that belong to them and promised to them on the treaty, that third one, right, is one of the main ones that you should remember. We can move on to the next one. It's on your screen, right? Fourthly, that they shall have liberty to plant the said land with coffee, cocoa, ginger, tobacco and cotton, and to breed cattle, hogs, goats, or any other flock, and dispose of the produce or increase of the said commodities to the inhabitants of this island, provided always that when they bring the said commodities to market, they shall apply first, well it says fixed, but I'm assuming that's first, to the customs or any other magistrate of the respective parishes where they expose their goods for sale, for a license to vend the same. Fifthly, that Captain Cudjoe and all the captain's adherents and people now in subjection to him shall all live together within the bounds of Trelawney Town, and that they have liberty to hunt where they shall think fit, except within 3 miles of any settlement, kraal, or pen, provided always that in case the hunters of Captain Cudjoe and those of other settlements meet, then the hogs to be equally divided between both parties. That's fifth. We can move on to the sixth part of the treaty. Sixthly, that the said Captain Cudjoe and his successors do use their best endeavors to take, kill, suppress, or destroy either by themselves or jointly with any other number of men commanded on that service by His Excellency the Governor or Commander-in-Chief for the time being, all rebels wheresoever they be throughout this island, unless they submit to the same terms of accommodation granted to Captain Cudjoe and his successors. Let me read the sixth one again. Slower this time. Sixthly, that the said Captain Cudjoe and his successors, right, so Chief Richard Curry would be considered a successor from all the way down the line, right? Do use their best endeavors to take, kill, suppress, or destroy, either by themselves or jointly with any other number of men commanded on that service by His Excellency the Governor or Commander-in-Chief for the time being, all rebels, wheresoever they be, throughout the island, unless they submit to the same terms. Right? That's pretty straightforward, right? Very interesting, because you see, a lot of people have never even looked through, right, the treaty, but social media, everybody is like, everybody is now a fake pro-black warrior. That's very interesting. I would love to know what the pro-black warriors think about a line like that. It's essentially saying, right, that the Maroons should either do it by themselves or work with the British to kill other blacks who are rebels, right, unless them submit, right, to the same terms. You can dress it up however you want, you can polish it down however you want, but that is exactly what it boils down to. Seventhly, that in case the island be invaded by any foreign enemy, the said Captain Cudjoe and his successors, hereinafter named or to be appointed, shall then, upon notice given, immediately repair to any place the governor for the first time being shall appoint, in order to repel the said invaders with his or their utmost force, and to submit to the orders of the Commander-in-Chief on that occasion. In other words, if somebody invades Jamaica, the Maroon them supposed to help fight back. So I'm wondering, wouldn't that mean that nowadays, let's say, a foreign country was to invade Jamaica, wouldn't that mean that the Maroons, right, are obligated to defend Jamaica? Right? And seeing that the old Commander-in-Chief, the British, are no longer there, would that be the Prime Minister of Jamaica? That's interesting. But according to the treaty, the Maroons are supposed to defend the island if nobody try and invade it. Eighthly, and this one is very interesting, that if any white man shall do any manner of injury to Captain Cudjoe, his successor, or any of his or their people, they shall apply to any commanding officer or magistrate in the neighborhood for justice. And in case Captain Cudjoe or any of his people shall do any injury to a white person, he shall submit himself or deliver up such offenders to justice. So, in other words, let's say a white man was to box down a Maroon, right? Then they have a legal right. They have a legal right. They can go to the commanding officer, the magistrate, and say that man have violated me, and I guess something will be done about it. Right? We could move to the next one. And this one is very, very interesting. Ninthly, that if any Negroes shall hereafter run away from their masters or owners, and shall fall into Captain Cudjoe's hands, they shall immediately be sent back to the chief magistrate of the next parish where they are taken, and these that bring them are to be satisfied for their trouble. In other words, rewarded, right, as the legislator shall appoint. And then you see in brackets, the assembly granted a premium of 30 shillings for each fugitive slave returned to his owner by the Maroons. Right? So, capture them, bring them back, and you'll be paid. Right? Tenthly, that all Negroes taken since the raising of this party by Captain Cudjoe's people shall immediately be returned. Say it again. Tenthly, that all Negroes taken since the raising of this party by Captain Cudjoe's people shall immediately be returned. 11thly, that Captain Cudjoe and his successors shall wait on His Excellency or the Commander-in-Chief for the time being every year if thereunto required. Let me just say this. This treaty sound like, a lot of it sound like a bunch of orders. It's done under the disguise of treaty, but some of these things sound like orders, like how, people in the military, when the CEO are sending orders, right, this is how it sounds. This doesn't sound like none of them don't sound like an option. It doesn't say, if the Maroons them feel like them can wait on it, like, it's like, shall wait on His Excellency or the Commander-in-Chief for the time being every year if thereunto required, if the British them require it. Right. Anyway, 12. That Captain Cudjoe during his life and the captains succeeding him shall have full power to inflict any punishment they think proper for crimes committed by their men among themselves. Death only excepted. In other words, them can't do any punishment except kill them. in which case, if the captains think they deserve death, he shall be obliged to bring them before any justice of the peace, who shall order proceedings on their trial equal to those of other free Negroes. 13. That Captain Cudjoe with his people shall cut, clear and keep open large and convenient roads from Trelawney Town to Westmoreland and St. James, and if possible to St. Elizabeth. What? So they're saying that, anyway. 14. This one is extremely interesting. That 2 white men to be nominated by His Excellency or the Commander-in-Chief for the time being shall constantly live and reside with Captain Cudjoe and his successors in order to maintain a friendly correspondence. Right. You have to give it to the British. They show no, when they talk about PR, there's nobody better than the British. And this is historically to this day, when they're ready to dress up things and make it sound so amazing, right? Right. Let me read it again. 14. That 2 white men will be nominated by His Excellency or the Commander-in-Chief for the time being shall constantly live and reside with Captain Cudjoe and his successors in order to maintain a friendly correspondence or keep an eye on the Maroons. Friendly correspondence. The British are masters at intel, gathering intel, espionage. Check MI5, check MI6. Friendly correspondence, that's called spying to make sure something up and spooky. Anyway, with the inhabitants of the island. 15th. That Captain Cudjoe shall during his life be chief commander in Trelawney Town. After his decease, the command to devolve on his brother Captain Akompong, and in case of his decease, on his next brother Captain Johnny, and failing him, Captain Kofi shall succeed, who is to be succeeded by Captain Kwaku. And after all their demises, the governor or commander-in-chief for the time being shall appoint from time to time whom he thinks fit for that command. Right. Now here's the thing. Facts don't care about your feelings, and the facts are the Maroons did work with the British, right, to help capture other black people. The Maroons was not a pro-black, right? It's not, they were not Malcolm X type figures who were doing it for black people, right? They had Fidem thing. Anybody who never fall under Fidem family, Fidem group, right? They would say, here you go, Englishman, you can take him back. What the fuck will help you capture him, right? Can't dress up that, no amount of PR can cancel that, but that's not even the point of today's video. Where's it on your screen? Passport. You see, Chief Richard Curry has been saying, listen, Maroons them thing, right, a different thing from Jamaica. They are a sovereign state, right? They don't have to ask no permission, they don't have to, basically, Jamaican government none talk when it comes on to Maroons and Maroons land. Right. Now, I've been studying, right, the whole sovereign state thing, and from what I've seen, as the law currently stands, there's nothing that says that the Maroons is a sovereign state. However, Richard Curry has said that the Maroons are a sovereign state. Now, this is what I'm going to say. The Chief Richard Curry, because I see people are be very, right, either them go in a grouping mode or them go in a very disrespectful mode. Let me say that not necessary. Chief Richard Curry, this is what I would like you to do for the people of Jamaica, maybe even the world, because you think even upon foreign platform, so maybe even the world. I would love you to do one thing, Chief Richard Curry. Just a small favor. Show the people of Jamaica and the world your passport. And this don't have to be you, it can be any, right, member of your people. Show us the passport, because if you're a sovereign state, show us the passport that you use as one sovereign state to enter and exit other sovereign states. Just show us the passport. Show us your Maroon passport, and I'm not talking about that souvenir when they bring in, right, I think about a decade or so ago, where you get a souvenir when you pass through Maroon territory and them stamp it on it. No, we mean a passport that you can actually go through an airport, enter another country, them look on it and them say, oh, you're from Maroon, so, alright, there you go, bam, you're a Jamaican Maroon, stamp, enter the United States, enter the UK. Speaking about the UK, show us the passport that you use. The specific maroon passport, because you are a sovereign state. The maroon specific passport that you use to enter the UK, because surely you must have the British, because Maroons are very proud of the treaty with the British. Surely your good friends, the British, would not demand any visa from you. You just have your passport and you just enter the UK as you please. Show us that maroon passport. Because if you have Jamaican passports, then it stands to reason that you are Jamaican citizens. Therefore, how can you not be liable to Jamaican laws? And how is it that there are places in Jamaica, for example, that the police can go if you are Jamaican citizens? So is it a case where there are no Maroons at all with a passport? Because surely you do not have a Jamaican passport. That is a legal document. I would love to see the maroon passport. Maybe, and this is, I must say, Chief. You've had a good run in the media. Right. Most of the interviews have been a case where you can control the narrative. That's fine. That's human nature. So, but I don't want you to feel like, oh, see, you're not being attacked here. Listen, I fully support the Maroons them and their right for one to stick to themselves and do their own thing and not mix with the rest of Jamaica. I fully support that 100%. Maroons want to stick to themselves, grow their own food, do their own thing. I support that 100%. However, when you start to say you're a sovereign state and Jamaica can't do this and Jamaica can't do that and Jamaica can't talk, now you go down in a factual, now you go down in a law. Right? Now you talk about international law. So as a sovereign state, show us the maroon passport and then show us that you can use this maroon passport, enter, for example, the United States, have bilateral negotiations, and then enter back in Jamaica and go back to the Maroon territories. Show us this passport. See, I was hoping that the media would tackle this, but we can't really rely on Jamaican journalism. Right? People either just downright dismiss it or them just downright turn in a groupies. I think it's a fair thing to ask for. Right? Let me say it's really a favor. Because you might hear this and kiss your teeth and say, look, a YouTuber can't ask me nothing. Who does he think he is? I don't know. But I'm sure a lot of people agree. We would love to see Chief Richard Curry and the other Maroons in passport, right? And with them use enter and exit Jamaica. Surely it can't be a Jamaican passport because that completely defeats the argument that you're a sovereign state and Jamaican on attack, right? On Maroon lands. Speaking about Maroon lands, Chief Richard Curry. And people of Jamaica, we don't address this man as Chief Richard Curry, because the cycle we have a minister of this and we say minister of this and your honor, this man's title is Chief Richard Curry. His respect must be given to him. Let's say for a second I was the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Jamaica. Right. And we say, you know what? We're going to have discussions. We're going to sit down and we're going to talk because you're a sovereign state. Right. And as the Minister of Foreign Affairs for Jamaica, one sovereign state, we're going to sit down and discuss with the Minister of Foreign Affairs and the Chief for the Maroon peoples. Right. So basically I take Kamina Johnson-Smith's job just for one day or one video. We're sitting down and we're reason. We're hash out things, we're negotiating. So Chief Curry, as the man who represents the Maroon peoples, right, as the Minister of Foreign Affairs, right, representing the Jamaican people, this is what I put forth. Know that you're a sovereign state. That means that you are essentially a foreigner. So every time a Jamaican set foot on Maroon lands, every time if JCF wants to set one foot over upon Maroon territory, they must present passport and a visa that is approved by the Maroon people them. Right. For any Jamaican, non-Maroon, step 1 foot on the territory, just 1 foot. Right. They must apply for that visa, right, and then get it. Anything apart from this should be considered, right, an invasion of your land. Right. We will give that to you. Sovereign state, just like our country, people from one country can just cross now next country as they feel them have a show passport visa. That's what the Maroons will get. But the vice versa would apply as well. No Maroon can set foot on the rest of Jamaica without a visa as well. That must be applied for, go through the full process, and then even if I want to shop here, go down the road, it don't matter. You must present a visa before you can step across in Jamaican territory. Also, the Maroons, seeing that you're a sovereign state, would not have access to any service that the Jamaican taxpayer providing. No service at all. The Maroons would also lose access to anything that is on the quote unquote the rest of Jamaica. That's not on Maroon land. Therefore, if we have to go build one airport, you cannot use Norman Mangley, you cannot use Donald Sangster, you cannot use the Ian Fleming airport. To build your own airport, own hospital, own school, everything. Right. You're a whole country. The ports of entry for goods and services, the Maroons will have no access to that. Right. You'll have to arrange your own thing, how you will get things in your country and out of your country. Right. Chief Richard Curry, is this the vision you have for the Maroon people? Maybe it is, because that's the only way you cannot be subjected to Jamaican laws. That is the only way. You have to be your own country. Now, let me say this to the people of Jamaica. This could be sorted out much easier if the Jamaican government and successive Jamaican governments weren't so weak. Not weak towards the Maroons, but weak towards the British. The Jamaican Prime Minister should be able to reach out to who are in England now, Boris Johnson, and say, listen, make a formal statement. The UK need to make a formal statement telling Jamaica and the world, right, that the Maroons are a sovereign nation, and Jamaican laws, current Jamaican laws, don't apply there. The Prime Minister should be able to do that. Right. But you know how it got already. Big dog versus little dog, Rottweiler versus Chihuahua. Right. Them go and let them down and talk. Jamaica is a sovereign nation. If I was the Prime Minister of Jamaica and this I go down, the first person I pick up the phone and call is the British. The Maroons are saying, you say, right, that this is how things stand. Right. When Jamaica became a sovereign nation, as in, officially the British handed over rule Jamaica, and they have the PNP, JLP, and we can vote and elect our own leaders. Right. The British need to clarify when that transition happened, what happened to this treaty. Right. And if the treaty still stands, then that means that Jamaica is not an independent nation. If the treaty still stands, and a treaty that a colonial government gave to the Maroons still stand, where the Maroons can be exempt from Jamaican laws because a colonial government that no longer controls Jamaica still stands, Jamaica is not an independent country. Because upon becoming an independent country, that treaty with the British would be null and void. Remember, Hong Kong used to be a part of the UK. Hong Kong used to be a British territory. They had certain agreements with the British. However, Hong Kong was handed over back to the Chinese, and the British left Hong Kong. Now China controls Hong Kong. Hong Kong is not a sovereign nation. Let me say this again. Hong Kong is not, and I challenge anyone to prove otherwise. No matter how much money they make, No matter how they can do everything on them own, no matter what the British is telling them is, now that China has control over Hong Kong because it was transferred to them in July 1997. The British ruled Hong Kong as a colonial power for 156 years. It was transferred to the Chinese, and now the Chinese control Hong Kong. Hong Kong is considered an SAR, a Special Administrative Region. It is a Chinese, a part of China. Hong Kong can't tell China nothing. Say, oh, well, when the British them rule them, they said this, so you can't tell me nothing. They wouldn't even dream to say that. But that's the difference between having a big 400-pound monster, as opposed to a little mouse. Hong Kong wouldn't even dare to say, but the British them did promise with this. China would have looked at them like that when the British them there. This is our show now. That's what China would tell Hong Kong. But Jamaican government can't even get a statement from the British. So now, the Maroon people are saying the British them did tell you that when time of them there. And we signed treaty them and the treaty say forever. So, treaty still stand, you can't tell me nothing. And Jamaican government, Jamaican politicians, being as weak as they always have, don't even know where them stand. I don't even think Jamaican politicians understand this whole thing. To me, look like they must scratch them head. If they have any talk, any strength, they will make the call to 10 Downing Street. So listen, if you clear up the situation, I say, I've heard the British ambassador, say, oh, well, the treaties with the. Let's forget about the talk, because I say one thing when it comes down to the British, I mean, kill it with the talk and the PR. We could talk about the action. If the British say the Maroons as a sovereign nation, the British must say one, yes. Well, first the British must explain how, as a country that is no longer a colonizer, how them can still have enough talk to say what happened in a Jamaica to the point where them can say this group exempt from laws. Two, the British must show us the Maroons can use their Maroon passport and enter the UK and exit the UK, since they actually consider them a sovereign state. Not just the words, the actions. So we want to see Maroons aboard plane with Maroon passports and I go to the UK, because the UK has said something, but we could see the action. Another thing is, if Jamaica was to become a republic, then that would mean say the treaty with the Maroon them have, what going to happen to that? Because if Jamaica is now a republic, then no treaty, was nothing born forever, and you're entitled to this, wouldn't apply. So there's a whole heap of questions that's how we need to answer. Whole heap of questions. But before the video done, let me just say this, and I'm tired of telling people this, and I'm going to start taking action. Do not message me talking about, yo, you need to cover this tomorrow because everybody talk about it, and you need to cover it because topics like this, certain topics, I need to take my time, right? One, decide if I can cover it. Two, see if we can get enough thing where if we can put together a video we're talking about. I might take 1 month, I might take a year before we cover a topic. When nobody message me about, yo, you know, everybody talk about it, I do everybody do. Right? My DM on Instagram is for the sharing of intel and serious business. It's not Zip FM. Right? You don't call in and make a request, and when you don't get it right away, you get in your feelings and start story like say, you think me go lose sleep. That random username 8592 say them did like me, but them don't like me again. Come in a cover topic exactly there when them want me cover it. Them type of people are just a bunch of wagonists anyway. Not real members of the movement. Don't be fooled. Anyway, hopefully this thing gets sorted. Chief Richard Curry, I understand it's one of disputes with miners and all them thing there. Really hope the best, right, for them. Right. I don't want nobody use the little problems we are going now and try sneaky no spooky laws and sneaky nothing spooky, right, and go try and either do not want to go damage the Maroons or the cockpit country in general, because I saw them, the powers that be, I saw them roll them wait for confusion, them silico hype, and then them sneak in and do them damage. So we don't want nothing the Maroons them, we definitely want nothing to the cockpit country, right? But hopefully get sorted out. Right. But Mr. Curry, I would love it if you'd show the people them, right, the passport. Hopefully you're not too big and too famous now if you address a little YouTuber. I'm sure the PIA will be interested too. Anyway, big up yourself. Patreon squad, I don't know it guy already. Right. PIA, you don't know, more life. Ultra squad, stay circling. Bless.